Each year, some 3 million Muslims enter Saudi Arabia during the Hajj season. That's nearly double the amount of people at the Sydney Olympics and the largest annual human assembly in the world. They're required to stay for a minimum of a week, and each of them have to carry out the rites of Hajj. These include circling the Kaaba, sacrificing an animal for the sake of Allah, and the symbolic stoning of the devil. In addition, all these people need to move from one place to another at certain times of the day, a fate that would no doubt be a lot easier were it not for the sheer numbers of people who are involved. Saudi Arabia deploys tens of thousands of security staff to man the pilgrimage, and they do everything from guiding people to the right places, ensuring pilgrim safety, and a special green police check that Hajj doesn't cause damage to the environment. For a British tour operator, fitting into this puzzle is a hefty task. So we visited a few of them to find out what the biggest challenges are.
There are 300 and something visa.
It's a few weeks before Hajj, and in one travel agency in Birmingham, the office is quiet. Zamzam Travels has been organising Hajj for the last 12 years, and staff here seem well trained and prepared for the journey ahead.
How are they in terms of organisation? Have there been times when you've really desperately tried to get hold of them and not been able to?
No, there is a facility for every nation there, for individual countries, you know. They have the office every corner of the town. So if you are in difficulties with your groups or anything, they are willing to help you over there.
It's a very long-winded process.
Although it might be easier once you get to Saudi, I'm told the process of organising Hajj from London remains complex and riddled with paperwork.
He has to go to Saudi beforehand, before we can submit it. Now, the documents include a CV, Certificate of Incorporation, the Inland Revenue Corporation tax, bank statements, there's his passport copy, and then there's what was it? And then there's the ATOL certificate, and then the IATA as well. Okay, that then has to be sent off to the Foreign Commonwealth Office. We have to get that legalized. Okay, before we send it off to that, we have to get notarized by a solicitor. Then we get legalized. Then it gets sent to the Saudi embassy for them to endorse that. Then it goes to the Arab consulate. They have to endorse it as well.
Over in East London, another operator agreed. Al-Hajj Khan told me the main problem with organising Hajj is bureaucracy. He says that simply getting out of the airport upon arrival can be a lengthy process, as there are many official departments to clear.
There's too many departments, whereas they all can do the same thing. They can all amalgamate into one officer who can deal with it. When they go through the ministry, come through immigration, because they've got about 4 or 5 steps that they have to go through. One point here, then you have to walk it there, then you have to go to the bus stand, then you have to get into the bus, then you have to before going to the bus stand, they have to release the Ministry of Transport has to release the passports. So that's where too long the process is. Whereas Ministry of Hajj could have said to Muassasa, one department deal with it. There's too many departments involved.
Travel operators say that in addition to multiple levels of bureaucracy, language remains a major obstacle. Much of the paperwork submitted to the Saudi embassy needs to be translated into Arabic before it can be accepted, making life for a British tour operator increasingly complex. In addition, there are some basic licenses which have to be renewed every year, even for those tour operators who have been in the business for over a decade. They also say the Saudi ministry needs to work quicker in achieving standards of health and safety, and that there's a lack of attention for disabled and vulnerable pilgrims. Both Zamzam and Al-Qibla Travels are on the list of approved agents for Hajj travel, which is available on the Hajj Ministry's website. The authorities encourage people wishing to make Hajj to travel with one of these approved agents.
More specifically for Hajj, to also book with tour operators that have been accredited by the Saudi Ministry of Hajj. The problem is that many people don't look at that. They go off word of mouth or recommendation through friends and family.
Let me just ask you on that before we move on. You said that it's recommended to go with authorised, Saudi Ministry authorised Hajj travel agents. Why do all the other ones exist?
The main tour operators will have quotas to fill. and often they can't fill them themselves, so they'll appoint agents or sub-agents out there in the community. It might be the uncle in the local mosque, it could be another tour operator who may not necessarily have the necessary paperwork in place to be the official Hajj and Umrah tour operator. Now, in order to meet these quotas, these people go out and either slash the prices to entertain and get people in to buy their products. And this is the grey area where if you don't go with the right person and go off price or don't do the research properly, you might fall foul of some unscrupulous activities that are out there.
It's when they return from Hajj that most people who think they have something to complain about can really start to take those complaints forward. And here in the UK, there are many ways to do that. Starting with this logo. The Air Travel Organisers licensing is a scheme under the Civil Aviation Authority, which ensures that holiday packages are protected. It's one of many consumer benefits British pilgrims enjoy. Although Hajj is a religious journey, it falls under the European and British package holiday category. Frank Bruhaney is from the travel watchdog Holiday Travel Watch. He explains the various stickers and logos you might find on your travel documents.
What are all the different parties that are involved in consumer protection when it comes to travelling, like ATOL and IATA and ABTA?
ATOL is organised by the Civil Aviation Authority, and it's designed essentially to protect travellers or holidaymakers' money where they buy a flight-inclusive package. In relation to ABTA, ABTA is the principal trade body which governs the activities of travel agents and indeed tour operators. You have another organisation called IATA, which is the Association of Independent Tour Operators. They are independent from ABTA, but nonetheless they still provide certain standards by which their members should apply to. IATA, which is what you see at the end of booking forms, is an organisation, a global organisation, which effectively regulates airlines, particularly conditions of carriage. It actually has no real focus as far as consumers are concerned.
Oh, good afternoon. Firstly, may I thank the convention organisers for inviting me here on behalf of the Civil Aviation Authority. And also personally, for giving me an excuse to visit the British Museum for the first time since I was about 12 years old.
It's February 2012 and experts from the Hajj travel industry have gathered for a weekend convention in London. The event organisers say the focus is on bringing together professionals from within the sector. It claimed to have had the participation of over 100 tour operators, but by Sunday afternoon we filmed all these name tags that were yet to be collected. Certainly, looking around the hall, we could only see international delegates and very few British tour operators. I went along to meet Mark Hydes, who represents the Civil Aviation Authority, in charge of ATOL.
What's a package when you say that?
Well, a package, there is a definition of a package. The package definition originated in Europe. It's part of the what's called the package travel regulations in the United Kingdom. It's also part of what's called the ATOL regulations, which are concerned principally with air travel arrangements. Trying to put it as simply as possible, it's an inclusive combination of a means of transport and at least one other item, which could be accommodation or it could be another tourist service, as long as it's over a 24-hour period.
So even though Hajj is a spiritual journey, it's also a package?
Indeed, yes. The package and the definition of package isn't specific to a combination for, say, leisure. It is a combination, which I described earlier, for any means or for any purpose.
Many travellers are unaware of what these regulations are. Logos are visual reassurances, but how much research do pilgrims actually do themselves before booking a journey? Mohammed Nawaz is an IT professional who I met up with in Milton Keynes. He returned from Hajj last year and says he too feels shortchanged by his travel agent.
Firstly, for me, when I signed up with the agent I was told I'd be given a guide and whatnot. The accommodation, they didn't really go into what type of accommodation I'd have. It's quite vague. They said the only thing they said it will be next to the Kaaba, which it was, and to be fair to them it was. My sisters and other Hajjis lost their luggage. We weren't helped by the travel agents, which was very, very disappointed. We didn't know anything about the local laws, who was there locally to help us. And it was just towards the end of the trip, when I left Medina, did I become aware of what my rights were as a Haji. And if I had that knowledge at the beginning, I think my trip would have turned out so different.
Travel agents will often point the finger at pilgrims like Mohammed Nawaz, who travel with high expectations and without carrying out basic searches about the operator or group they're booking with.
I was under the assumption I'd get a nice 5-star hotel or something close to that. Brought up in the UK, you get a certain standard. Seeing the pictures on the internet of hotels around the Kaaba, you're expecting that as well.
At any time, did they tell you that they were providing you a 5-star hotel?
No, they didn't. No, to be fair to them, they didn't.